Hello Leo, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you're a cross-watcher, just know that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Leo. We're going to jump on in here. Let's start with overall energy through oracle cards first, starting with your side of this connection. Your energy toward the person you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. This is for Leo's side of the connection. Divine timing. You know, divine timing is all about alignment. When everything aligns for you. And I feel like divine timing is very much at work in your love life. And a lot of times divine timing can look like rejection. It can look like divine protection. I feel in this connection, so you have this ego card with divine timing here. And I feel in this connection, there's been almost this feeling of rejection. And I don't necessarily feel like you were rejected, but I do feel that the way that they've behaved in this has made you feel as if they're not taking you into account. And I feel like it's started to really affect maybe even the way that you view yourself, whether or not you believe that you're lovable and worthy and deserving and capable of having the love that you deserve and desire. And I feel like there's more to the story than just that, but I do definitely feel that there's a certain aspect to this connection that Spirit's trying to bring to the surface, specifically in how this person's actions have affected your view of self, which is interesting, right? When people don't treat us the way that we deserve, we tend to take it personally. And when people don't choose us or whatever the case is. But people don't typically treat us based on how they value us. People treat us based on how they value themselves. And I feel like the more that we can understand that and see things from that perspective, the more that we can look at the mirror of what's really going on. So let's look at this person's energy toward you here, Leo. Unfinished business. Separation. So I feel like this person walked away from this. And it's interesting because with this unfinished business card, it kind of feels like there's regret in doing that. And that's maybe where the rejection is coming from here. This person walked away and kind of left you feeling alone, left you wondering, like, why didn't they choose me? Why didn't they stick around? Things of that nature. But I feel like there's more to the story. Again, I feel like there's so much more to the story. Before I kind of dive into more of that person's energy, I want to just keep pulling because I feel like the reason why this person walked away isn't necessarily what you think. Truth of the connection between Leo and this person. Money versus love. For some of you, I feel like this card could be like literal. Maybe this person values like money and material things over genuine connection. But I also take this card in a very different way. You know, genuine connection is something that is very rare, and it requires people to reach a depth within themselves that most people aren't wanting to reach. So they prioritize things that don't really matter, or like surface level connections or, surface level things that are easier for them to handle. And I feel like this connection is not something that's easy for them to handle. And that doesn't mean that it's bad inherently, because good things can challenge you. They can push you to grow. They can push you to step up and again, deepen your connection to these parts of you. But if you're not willing to do that, you're going to push away anything that pushes you into that energy, right? So that's why I feel like the reason that this person walked away isn't necessarily what you think. The synchronicity card, again, it feels like divine guidance and ultimately kind of like divine protection at play here. I think that sometimes, when we're in the midst of rejection and we feel, left or like we didn't matter or whatever, it can really, again, affect our perception of self. But sometimes people walk away from us because they don't want to face themselves, not because of anything to do with us, right? So I feel like there's a different perspective that Spirit's trying to bring to the table about this connection to help you when it comes to creating the connections that you deserve and desire, because you still can have that love. And I feel like Spirit's trying to help that align with you too, help align you with it. Overall theme of this reading for Leo. Yeah, see, you don't love me. You feel like this person just doesn't care. You never loved me, you never cared about me. And that's not the case. I'm telling you that's not the case. I feel like there's more to this story. I know I've said that a lot, and I feel like we'll get into that when we dive into tarot. It is worth it. And then closure. There is a reason that this happened the way that it did. I don't know what that reason is, but with this it is worth it card, like I hear like it'll be worth it in the end. And that doesn't necessarily mean like you're going to end up with this person. But for you, creating the love that you deserve, like the way that things are happening, it's going to be worth it in the end. And I don't know how yet or what that really means, but I do feel like Spirit is trying to get you to see things clearly through this reading. So let's dive into this, Leo. Let's look at your side, divine timing with ego. Because unfinished business, yeah, kind of gives this energy of regret. This is for Leo's side of this connection, please. Star with the Seven of Cups. Oh, the Empress in reverse. The Strength in reverse. Yeah, see. Okay. Leo, you are an incredibly bright light. Not just in this person's life, but just in general. I feel like you bring so much to the table. And I feel like, to a certain extent, you know that. But for some reason, I feel like this connection is starting to really make you doubt that in a way. And not necessarily because, of anything that... I don't feel like it's necessarily what happened, but I feel like it's the energy that it's carrying in general. Because and it goes back to what I was saying. When people, walk away from us or don't choose us or treat us in association with our worth, a lot of times we're going to see that through the lens of our own insecurity. And it's going to bring to the surface almost this validation of all of these things buried within us, the ways in which we feel that we're not good enough and that we feel that we're not lovable. And I feel like this person and the way that things happen, because it feels like you were very committed here. You wanted this to work. You were really trying to make it happen with this person, and you were doing it from a very loving and compassionate place for them and for their experience. But it almost feels that you were that as time went on, because you poured so much into this and then it ended up not working out in the end, it almost feels like it's dimmed your light a little bit. It's taken away your confidence. It's taken away your sense of feeling like you're good enough, like you're worthy. And maybe not like up here, like maybe consciously you're like, no, I know I'm good enough. Like I know I'm worthy of love. Like it's kind of like when your friends tell you, right? Oh, you're worthy and deserving of love. It's their loss. it's like, yeah, maybe you know that, but it doesn't always feel like that, right? It can feel very personal. It can feel like rejection, especially when we pour ourselves into somebody or into a connection. We really put our best foot forward, because then it starts to make us feel like if we gave everything we had and everything we had wasn't enough, then are we enough? And the answer to that absolutely is yes. And I feel like the thing that Spirit's trying to bring through in this reading is very much it's not you, it's them. And that doesn't mean that you were perfect and you made no mistakes, okay? I'm not saying that we don't want to look within and always see the ways in which we can show up better for ourselves and others. But more so from the sense of, when you're dealing with people who are avoiding themselves, they're going to avoid you. And I feel like there's more to why this person walked away or did the things that they did than you even realize. And I feel like it's hard because you're seeing this through kind of a like, I don't want to call it closed-minded, because I don't necessarily feel like it's closed-minded as more as it is like an insecure view, which is very natural, where it's like, if they, I think that there's that common saying, if they wanted to, they would. If they wanted to stay, they would. If they wanted to choose me, they would. And to a certain extent, maybe, yeah, there's some truth to that, but it's more so if they want to and are capable of it, they would. And a lot of people have desires that they're not capable of backing up with actions for whatever reason. And, I think that, again, we'll dive more into what that looks like, but anything that doesn't work out, any form of rejection, truly is divine protection. And a lot of times, Spirit is protecting us from what isn't capable of being what it is that we deserve. So it's interesting because we see it as a reflection that we're deserving of less, when Spirit is trying to say, no, you're actually deserving of more than this. You're deserving of somebody who does choose you, who does value you, who does, do the work to make a connection happen. So I feel like if this perspective shift might really help you on your journey to not look at it so much from this perspective of they did this because they didn't care about me, because I just don't feel like that's true. I truly don't. It doesn't make it okay, certainly, and it doesn't make it necessarily hurt any less, but it might help you on your journey to understand that that it's different. But, our ego is always going to see things through the lens of how it's affecting us personally. So we're going to read it through, they did these things because they don't care about me, or they did these things because there's something inherently wrong with me. And if we're not careful, we can fall into the mindset and the belief that we are unlovable because people treat us as such. But we are only as unlovable as we allow people to make us feel. And what I mean by that is nobody determines your worth but you. If you hand somebody a handful of diamonds, very, very valuable, precious diamonds, and they take those diamonds and they throw them in the trash, you're not going to question the value of the diamonds. You're going to go, what the hell is wrong with you to throw away something so valuable, right? But we don't do that as much whenever we're in our own personal world. This person's energy toward you is separation with unfinished business. Because you bring a lot to the table, and I see that a lot with this star energy. It's like you are this light for the people in your life and the people that you love and care about. And I feel like, it's almost like this person or this connection, or maybe even a string of connections that have, ended this way, have made you really doubt that value or doubt what it is that you bring to the table. This person's energy toward you. That's confusing. 8 of Pentacles. 4 of Pentacles in reverse, Justice in reverse, 8 of Pentacles. I think I did a Leo reading not too long ago. It was like they're choosing something karmic. And this kind of aligns with that a little bit. There's the Lovers. Ace of Cups in reverse. They're choosing the easy path. The path of least resistance. And, I think that it's interesting because sometimes people don't realize that they're doing this, right? It's obvious that in this connection, this was something very different for this person. I don't feel like they've ever experienced a connection like this before. And it was something that at first I think they really enjoyed, and it brought a lot of wonderful feelings for them. But then eventually I feel like it started to make them feel insecure. And I don't mean that in the sense that it was visible, or maybe even that you knew that. But it feels like the love that you showed up with started making this person question whether or not they were deserving of it, whether or not they were good enough for it. And those decisions, that the decision that they made to withdraw from this connection wasn't coming from a place of pushing you away because they didn't have interest in you. It was coming from a place of pushing you away because they didn't have interest in facing the uncomfortable feelings that this brought to the surface. And I think that understanding that can really help you bring some perspective to this, because I think that this person is a little bit lost on their journey. And I don't mean that they're like a totally lost soul with absolutely no hope. But I do feel that they're chasing situations and maybe even relationships and connections that are very surface level and very rooted maybe in materialism, or very rooted in like what their family wants them to do or have, or like rooted in identity, like what they want something. And it doesn't mean that you're bad for them in that sense, but again, you're very different. I feel like you're different in a way that they don't really know how to explain. So I feel like in this connection, they kind of ripped the rug out from underneath you, with which left you going, what the hell? Like, where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? And the answer to that is nothing. I don't feel like you did anything to push this person away other than just exist in your light. And sometimes your light is going to trigger the darkness in others. It's going to trigger other people to recognize how they hide from themselves, how they hide from their own authenticity, how they hide from their own truth. And whenever that's the case, it's going to make them very uncomfortable. And most people are going to then decide to do the thing that makes them feel the most comfortable, which is typically not deal with it at all. So I feel like this person walking away from this, especially if they, if it was out of the blue, or if it just like, a lot of times when people are dealing with this, and this might be something that came up, like they'll come up with reasons. They'll create arguments to create distance. They'll do things to push you away that you have no control over, because they're doing what they can to create distance, to protect themselves from having to face what is uncomfortable. And it's interesting, how people do that. And humans do have a tendency to do that. We have a tendency to sabotage the good in our life when we don't believe we're worthy and deserving of it. Not because we mean to, but because it happens whenever we aren't dealing with the feelings of feeling unworthy and undeserving. And this person with the Ace of Cups in reverse, I don't feel like they honor their own emotional experience. I feel like they push a lot of things down. So meaning they don't sit there and, when they have a feeling, they don't sit there and go, where is this coming? They don't get curious about their feelings. Where is this coming from? What is this trying to represent? How do I need to, interpret what this means for me? And obviously not all of our feelings have meaning, but if we are just like avoiding how we really feel and just pushing through to do whatever we feel we have to survive or to protect ourselves or whatever, we're going to hurt people in our path, especially when it goes against what our soul truly desires. Because especially if you consider yourself an empath, you probably pick up on that, right? You pick up on the fact that there's a desire there. You pick up on the fact that this person does truly care about you, but their actions go completely against that. Now, I think there is some regret here, but I also feel like this person is so deeply rooted in some sort of karmic path that they're going to have to experience the fallout of their own decisions. Like their lessons are going to have to lead them to those karmic lessons, which is the whole point, right? You can't save them from that. And I think that that's what's really hard when we really love somebody who isn't doing the healing or isn't working on themselves or isn't willing to take accountability or see the truth. You kind of just have to let them eventually recognize these things for themselves. But the beauty of it, and where I feel like Spirit is trying to help direct you, and this is no indication of you not being able to have the love that you deserve. This is no indication of your worth or your value or what's possible for you. And also, when we can look at it more from the perspective of the way that they behaved or the way that they acted or the way that they treated me has more to do with them than it does with me, then we can separate our worth and our value from how other people behave. And then what that allows us to do is no longer see other people's behavior as a reflection of our worth, and therefore let it determine how we show up, right? When we know and are so rooted in what we are worth and what we deserve, it's easier for us to be like, it's their loss. And truly, in this, the way that I'm reading this energy, this is their loss. But please know that the love that you deserve and desire is still very possible for you. And at the root of it, this person isn't capable of being what you deserve. They're not in a place consciously in their healing journey, in their world where they are capable of showing up for this in a way that you deserve. Rejection is divine protection, and the rejection that you feel in this is valid. And I really hope that you're able to understand that, but I really hope you're able to understand that it's not a rejection of you. It's not a rejection of what you bring to the table. It's not even a reflection of how they feel about you at all. It's a rejection of themselves. Because if this connection, truly aligns with what it is that they feel that they want, but then they go against doing the thing that they want, that means that they're abandoning themselves. They're not abandoning you, they're abandoning themselves in pursuit of things that make them feel more comfortable. But comfort isn't where the things that we desire lie, right? If somebody deeply desires love but prefers connections that don't challenge them or push them to grow or question them in any way, they're not going to experience deep connection, because those connections aren't requiring them to face themselves. Real sustainable love requires you to face yourself. And if somebody isn't willing to do that, they're not going to be able to have that. And when that's the case, we can understand that means, okay, then that means that they're not capable of being what I need. And again, I'm not saying that this doesn't make it hurt, but I really feel that there's a need for you to understand that this is a stepping stone on the path to you receiving the love that you deserve. And, there is always a reason as to why we attract certain connections in our life. There's always a lesson. This world, this earth is our classroom. And people, our relationships, are our assignments. And when we recognize what the assignment is, and I don't mean about, I'm not talking about saving, fixing, or healing another person, but I'm talking about what they're trying to teach us within us, then we can focus on what's in our control and we can feel a little bit more powerful. Because when we believe that people treat us based on how they value us, it can make us feel really powerless. Because then we're going to go, I did everything I could and it still wasn't enough. But you are enough. And the people that are capable of meeting you at that level, who are able to provide you with the same amount of love and care and compassion and energy and time and effort, all of the things that you have to give, the people who are also standing in their light, those people can't find you if you're dealing with people who aren't capable of showing up for you, who aren't capable of being what you deserve. So the universe will remove people from our life that aren't capable of being that, to open up our hearts to the love that we truly deserve and desire. But we have to be willing to learn the lesson associated so that we close the cycle and are able to open ourselves up to new experiences. So with that being said, we're going to dive deeper into this, looking at the deeper truth and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. You have synchronicity with this money versus love card. I'm going to hop on over to the extended, I already said that. Any information for that is in the description box below. Thank you so much, Leo, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Leo.